Right, okay, I'm back. So, I have not been making many videos lately, obviously, but the NHL is about to return. I want to start making videos again. Obviously, I acknowledge I need to change this backdrop, I need to change that camera, and I need to change this microphone, but that will do for now. The predictions for the 2020-2021 NHL season. I'm going to predict who is going to finish first up until fourth in every division. I'm going to predict the winner of the President's Trophy. I'm going to give my predictions for who is going to finish dead last, and finally who I think is going to win it all. I'm also obviously going to make place predictions, so who I think is going to win the Hart, who I think is going to win the Rocket Richard, the Vezina, and so on, but that is a video for tomorrow or for the day after tomorrow. So without any further ado, let's get right into it and let's kick things off with the North Division, or as everyone calls it, the Canadian Division. And I think this division has got a few surprises in the locker for us. It's not the best, I think, that is the East, but it's probably the second best, and although I'm not expecting big changes out of my top 5, I think that the way that I put these teams in the standings, 1 up until 4, could definitely change. So, first up we have my team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think with the additions that they've made, yes, you can say that, oh, Joe Thornton is just an old man, Wayne Simmons isn't the player he used to be, and that could be true, but in a different environment with different players, you never know. They've added TJ Brody to pair up with Morgan Riley. They've added Mikko Lehtinen, who's a big unknown factor, but he's looked good in the scrimmages. And obviously, if he's half as good as he was in the KHL, he'll still be a really decent D-man. And with Jack Campbell backing up Frederik Andersen, there's a good tandem 1-2 there. So first, I'm going with Toronto. Second place, I'm going with the Oilers. You just can't discount Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. The Oilers have added some players. They've obviously lost a few. You think of Andreas Athanasiou, but I just think you've got McDavid, you've got Draisaitl, you've still got guys like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins there. It's offensively, it's a very good team. Defensively, yes, you lose out on Clevbaum, but Darnell Nurse is there, Ethan Bear is there. You've added Tyson Berry. The biggest problem for me is probably Mikko Koskinen in net. I don't think it's the safest option. I think that Oilers should definitely look to add or even replace him with a better option. There are many better options out there. Who they will go with, I have no idea. When they will, I have no idea. But the Oilers are my pick for second. And third, I've got their arch rivals, the Flames. The Flames have added a lot from Vancouver. They're quite a good team already with Tkachuk, with Gaudreau. They've got Giordano, obviously. And in net, they've got a good tandem now. I'm not expecting them to do huge things. And in the playoffs, it all depends on who they come up against, on if they finish third indeed, or if they finish second or fourth. But I think the Flames are a lock for that top 4. And then in top 4 is a toss-up between the Jets and the Habs. Obviously, it's really hard to tell who's going to finish 4th, who's going to finish 5th. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Flames finish 5th. But I think that the Jets, with the forward group they have, they've got a bit more experience than Montreal. In net, obviously, Carey Price is one of the greatest of this generation, if not the greatest of this generation. But they've got Hellebuck, who's as good, if not better now. They've got a bad defense, though, and that's where Montreal might edge it. They've got, obviously, a much better defense. But the forward line goes to the Jets for me, so it's a 50-50. I could see the Flames dropping out in both Winnipeg and the Habs making it. I just can't see Vancouver making it. Ottawa, I can't see it either. Ottawa's got a young team. They've obviously added Stutzler to go with Chabot, to go with Tkachuk. It's a really good team, I think, for the next 5 years, or in the next 5 years, rather. Not for the next 5 years, but in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's definitely going to be a team that is playing for those playoff spots. And in Vancouver, yes, they've got Quinn Hughes, they've got Braden Holtby now, but they've lost a lot of pieces, and I just think they're not going to make it. So any Vancouver fans that might be watching this, I very much doubt anyone is going to watch this. I'm very sorry, but you might prove me wrong. Again, this Canadian division is wildly unpredictable. Then the West divisions, and that for me is easiest to call. The 4th might slip out to 5, and the 5th might drop into 4th. Those will be slim margins, but the top 3 is really easy for me. First, it's the Avs. They've got Nathan McKinnon, who, as we saw in the playoffs, was just ridiculously good. They've got Gabe Landeskog, they've got Rantanen, they've got Cale Makar, they've probably got Bowen Byram, who is NHL ready. The only thing that they could improve on realistically, and they've also added Devon Taves, by the way, is they could improve on their goaltending. I think if they had one of their first two goalies in the playoffs, they would have gone to the final, maybe would have gone on to win it. Obviously, that's just ifs and hypotheticals, but I think the Avs are a lock for first place. Then in second place, we've got Vegas. They haven't really lost much. They've added in the form of Alex Pietrangelo. That is not a great contract in the long run, but for this year, it's still a great contract. They're a solid team from the forwards up until the defense, up until in goalkeeping, where they've got a great tandem of 1-2 with Lena and Fleury. And I think they're just going to do great. They're not going to be the most exciting team in my opinion, but they definitely are a team that you shouldn't discount and that you should rely on to get quite a few points. Then in third place, we've got the St. Louis Blues. And the St. Louis Blues, they have lost Pietrangelo, and Tarasenko has those injuries nagging him. And I think we can basically discount him for the season. But they've added Mike Hoffman. They've still got a good forward line. In defense, they've added Torrey Krug. They have lost Pietrangelo. And in net, they've lost Jake Allen. That was a good backup option. Jordan Binnington, if he gets back to that 2019 form he was in, he's a great goalie. Will he though? That's a big X factor. St. Louis might drop to fourth, maybe, but I very much doubt they will. I think they're a lock for top 4 and pretty much a lock for top 3 too. And then in fourth place, we've got San Jose. And San Jose is a great team offensively and defensively. They've got some incredible guys like Brett Burns, like Erik Karlsson. And Erik Karlsson was obviously a downer last year, but he had those injuries. He didn't have any play-in to play or any playoffs, so he had time to heal, and I expect him to be back at his best. So I think San Jose, although in net they're definitely suspect, probably a lock too. And then we've got Anaheim, the LA Kings, Arizona, and Minnesota, who miss out on playoffs. Do I see any of those making it? Not really. Anaheim obviously have John Gibson in goal, but if they don't have anyone to help him out in defense or offensively to score the goals, I doubt that they'll really do much. LA Kings with Byfield, they're better, yeah, but are they a playoff team in this division? Probably not. Arizona, where to even begin with them? And then Minnesota with Marco Rossi, it's going to be a good team. It's going to be a fun team to watch, I think, but still not good enough to crack the playoffs in that division. And next up is the Central, and everyone is predicting a wash for the Lightning. And although I see their point of view, I don't necessarily agree with it. I do have the Lightning finishing first in that division. Yes, they've lost Kucherov, but they've basically won a Stanley Cup without Steven Stamkos. So if Steven Stamkos is back and healthy, they're still probably one of the best teams out there. They've got Vasilevsky in goal, who is the best, or if not the second best goalie in the league. They've got Victor Hedman. They've got an incredible defense. They've got incredible depth. And I think if they manage to stay healthy, they're probably a lock for the first place. However, at number 2, at the second spot, we have the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if the Canes finished first. They've got a great defensive depth. In net, James Reimer and Peter Mrazek. It's not bad, but it won't blow you away, and they'll definitely let in some goals. So it just depends on the Lightning if they manage to stay injury-free, suspension-free, and all that. In third place, we've got Dallas. There's obviously no Tyler Seguin, but it's still a very solid team. They've got young players coming through, both offensively and defensively. You think of Miro Heiskanen. With Ben Bishop out, with Tyler Seguin out, yes, the goalkeeping tandem is great. It's absolutely great. But for an entire season, I'm not sure. They definitely will lose a few games, and a few they will lose by a big margin, I think. But they should have enough to make top 3 easily, perhaps even top 2. Now in fourth place, like the Canadian division, it's a toss-up for me between 2 teams, and these 2 teams are Nashville and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now Nashville, going forward, are decent. Defensively, they're still very good too, with Roman Josi, with Ryan Ellis. In net, Pecorine can do a job. He's definitely past his prime, but Juuse Saros can definitely help out. They'll probably split the games 50-50, or Pecorine will do a little more, but I expect both of them to get quite a few starts. Columbus has a better goalkeeping tandem, obviously, with Korpisalo and Merzlikins. I expect Korpisalo to start most of the games, but offensively, Columbus isn't great. They're good, they're solid, but they're not very good at all. Defensively, they're probably the best team out there. You think of Jones, you think of Werenski most notably. But is it enough for me? It really depends on what Nashville does against Columbus, and I'm expecting Nashville to win 50% or a little more of these games and then win a bit more against the three teams down below, which will be Chicago, Detroit, and Florida. Chicago without Taves, without Kirby Dach, without a decent goalie, there's just no way they make it. Detroit have added Thomas Greiss, which is a good option in net to have. Is it great? No, but it's definitely better than what they had. They've got Lucas Raymond, which I think is NHL ready and he's going to be a star in this league, but he's not good enough yet to really lead that team. Florida, it depends on if you see Florida from the playoffs, then it's hopeless. If you see Florida that we know they can be, then they might maybe cause a few problems here and there, but I don't expect them really to do much, unfortunately. And then finally we go to the East, the beast from the East. The most exciting division, probably the hardest to call. So the East, obviously you could predict a team to finish second and most people agree with it, and then it would end up finish sixth or vice versa. But it's just exciting. You've got the Bruins, you've got the Capitals, you've got Pittsburgh, Buffalo, the Rangers, the Islanders, Flyers and the Devils. Now there's two teams for me to just not make the playoffs there. That's Buffalo and the Devils. However, the top four is incredibly hard to call. But I'm going to go with the Bruins in the first place. They've got great goalkeeping, they've got great defense. Yes, they've lost Chara. Is that big of a factor? I don't think so. They've lost Torrey Krug though, which could be a big factor, but they've got Charlie McAvoy, who I think is going to keep getting better and who's going to lead that line. Offensively, do I need to go in depth? Not really. They might have a few injuries, yes, but I'm a Leafs fan. I know what the Bruins are capable of. I am predicting them for first, although again, they could end up being third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then in second place. In second place, I think I'm going to go with the Capitals. So the Capitals have added a bit of grit. They've added Henrik Lundqvist. He can't participate in the NHL season for obvious reasons. I wish him all the best. I think Samsonov is ready. They've added Chara, and in this division, some physical players will be handy. They've got Wilson, obviously. They've got Oshie, who can dish out a hit. They've got Ovechkin, Chara now. Second, I'm just breaking them second. They could end up anywhere, really. And in third place is a team that I've seen lots of people discount, and it's the Rangers. Obviously, the Rangers can score goals. They've got Buchnevich, they've got Panarin, they've got Zibanejad, they've got Lafreniere now, they've got Capocaco. They're just going to keep getting better and better and better. Defensively, they're great. Trouba, Fox, as much as I don't like him, Tony DeAngelo. And then in net, they've got a great tandem. I think they're a lock to make playoffs, really. I just don't know where. And unless something drastic happens, like an implosion in the Rangers camp, I really can't see him missing the playoffs, to be fair. And fourth place, it's really between the Flyers and Pittsburgh for me. And I think the Flyers take it, honestly. And I'll give you one reason. And that's because Pittsburgh's two biggest rivals are in this division. Obviously, Washington and the Flyers. When they play each other, Pittsburgh against Washington, Pittsburgh against the Flyers, both teams are going to give 100%. The problem with that is, if you have to do that a lot, like Pittsburgh will have to do, it's going to take out so much out of you, and I think they'll just lose out on the playoffs by a slim margin, most likely. But I think the Flyers will have too much for them. They've got Carter Hart in goal, who's an incredible goalkeeper. He's going to get better. They've still got a good offensive core and a solid defensive core. And although, yes, Pittsburgh have Crosby, yes, they have added Kapanen, they still have Malkin. Letang is getting up there in age. Jari, will he be good? He might very well be good. I think he will be good, but I don't think he will be great. And then the other teams to lose out on playoffs here are Buffalo, the New York Islanders, and the Devils. Now, the Islanders, they're definitely not going to be the worst team in the division, not even in the league, but they don't have enough to make the playoffs, in my opinion. And then Buffalo and the Devils, it's just unfortunate for them. Now, the President's Trophy, I think it's straightforward. It's either the Avalanche or, most likely, the team that finishes first in the Central, so Tampa Bay or the Kings for me. I don't see any other way that any other team finishes first in the NHL. Now, my predictions for who's going to finish the last place. This is hard to call because obviously there's no interdivisional games. So I think it's going to be between Detroit, Buffalo, the Devils, and Arizona. I think Detroit could steal a few games here and there, especially against Chicago or Florida, but they are unlikely to do it night in, night out, and against those big teams, they're going to struggle big time. Buffalo isn't unknown. They've added Eric Stahl, they've added Taylor Hall, which is a big factor. And I think if they played against other divisions teams, they definitely would not end up being the worst team in the league. But in this division, I don't know. This East division is going to be wild. Now, the same goes for the Devils, and I like Mackenzie Blackwood a lot. They've added Corey Crawford. He's now retired from the NHL for personal reasons. So that's going to be a bit of a problem for them. But they have a young forward core. However, like the Senators, I think that forward core is not yet ready to really challenge for the playoffs. In a year or two, maybe 3, definitely, but not now. And then we go to the Coyotes. They've got a good goalie in Darcy Kemper. Don't get me wrong, they've got a very good goalie in him. And they've got a few decent players. You think of Chikrin, you think of Ekman Larsson and Clayton Keller. But that's about it. Phil Kessel is past it. And one injury and they're done. 2 injuries and they're a lock to finish last. I don't think they've got it in them to finish anywhere else than last. And the winner. Now, the winner, I don't think it's going to be a repeat. I don't think it's going to be Tampa Bay. I can't see a Canadian team winning it. I would love to sit here and say the Leafs are going to win it. But I don't think they're going to make it to the final. And if they do, they're not going to win it. So I'm going to go with the pick that I've seen everyone take. Colorado. How can it not be? How can it not be? They've lost nothing. They've added everything. If they stay away from an injury to one of their first 2 goalkeepers, they're a lock for me. It's going to be Colorado this year. If it's not, I'd be very surprised. If it's Tampa Bay, I could see it. Yeah, Colorado for me. Anyway, that was it for my team predictions for the 2020-2021 NHL season. I thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments down below. I'd love to hear some feedback on what you want me to discuss, what you think I did well, maybe what you would like to see improved. Obviously, like the background, I agree. The microphone, I agree. The camera, I agree as well. But I'll be back very soon with my player predictions for the 2020-2021 NHL season. Again, I've been Norman. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.